welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and today we're going to be taking a look at the G.I. Joe, a real American hero, heavy metal from the Mauler. This is the driver of it. Now, I'm going to start off by saying I am missing his mic, like almost everyone else in the world. And I'm missing his gun. Now, I don't know how I'm missing his gun. I swear that has carried over with the with my original one and even to this new Mauler that I do have. So I don't know how I'm missing it. It's kind of like the Lamprey's gun. I've always had it, never lost it, but I have no idea where it's at. So hopefully it's somewhere in the G.I. Joe room. It's not in the weapons cases. But either way, we're going to take a look at the figure, take a look at the detail, everything that all the detail they put into how he looks. And then in the next video, we'll get into the Mauler, but we're here to take a look at this. So I want to hear a story about this. Tell me if you had this guy. Maybe you only had the Mobat, so you only had Steeler. Maybe you made a trade because you thought he looked better in the Mobat. I don't know. It's your story. I want to hear it. But anyway, let's get into this and take a look at this figure. But before we do, please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classic review. Alright, so here he is, heavy metal, and like I said, I don't have his weapon, and I do apologize. I wish I did, but anything that you want to find out, the weapon, the mic, head over to 3djoes.com. It has a very extensive look at everything. You can still use yojo.com, but again, that thing's never going to be updated, but it still has a wealth of knowledge in it. So, quickly taking a look at this guy, and this was always one of my favorite figures. It sucks that, you know, again, I don't have the mic, but what can you do? So, looking at the top here, we'll start off. He has these wonderful goggles. Put on his tanker helmet with, you know, what is supposed to be his earpiece right over there on both sides. I would assume this is not only for listening, but also can dampen the sound inside a tank. I would assume they're extremely loud. We look here, we can see the eyebrows, and we can see the eyes, again, done the exact same. Just a little black line across the top and then the dot. Again, the 80s were a great time for mustaches, and he has a wonderful mustache. And then we get underneath here, we have his chin strap, which again, I think looks good because it's not only underneath, but it wraps around here, and then you can kind of see it's either like a clear piece holding it on, or that's his actual chin and his skin color. All right. As we kind of go down, he has his undershirt. He has a nice zipper, so he can zip up his shirt. He's got his collars. He has some emblems right up here. I'm not sure what they are, but you can see all the detail in the jacket. It looks like he has some sort of insignia here. If you know what it is, please tell me in the comments, because there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. I just like to look at the actual detail, but I'm always about learning a few more things. All right. Here we have a nice holster, and you can see the little belt, the belt loops that are kind of holding it on, and then he has a gold pistol. Now, I would love to see this figure in classified, and I'm sure we will at some time. He's kind of got like the bomber jacket. You can see the sleeves and how it cuffs up right at the bottom there. As we get down, we have a CS. Now, I do not know what CS. It might be, no, that's CS for sure. These are the right pants, right? Please let these be the right pants. If you go back and watch some of my other videos, I had the wrong pants on Flint, and I ended up finding out they were actually his. That was in a review of the classified. But anyway, he has this nice belt that wraps around here. It looks like it's supposed to have some sort of elastic. Maybe that's just the design. And then you have the drop-down holster right here, and he has more of a 6-shooter. But again, same color pattern of the brown, and then you have the gold pistol right there. As we get down, it looks like he has built-in knee pads. At least that's how it looks. I might be completely wrong. But either way, it has some sort of, I would say, tanker. Maybe maybe this is just a cover. I don't know. Maybe, tell me. You know, I have a buddy that's a... I have a buddy on Facebook that is a tank commander. I should ask him. But either way, looking at it here, you can see his boots. You can see the straps, and I think it looks really good. This is one of my favorite figures, but he didn't get a lot of use because someone had to always be manning the mauler. As for his articulation, when you get to this figure, he can look down and he can somewhat look up. I don't think people realize it. They do look up a slight bit there to make their heads go straight. You're there. They have the perfect T-pose because it's an O-ring. They swivel at the shoulder. You get that just over 90-degree elbow bend. They swivel at the side. These are O-rings. Again, if you don't know what an O-ring is, that is the rubber band in the middle. That is a band. I know you were probably thinking, oh, you're about to insult us and say, if you don't know what an O-ring is, why are you watching this? I'm not going to say that because you may not know. Here we have the nice little L. Okay, so he can sit down because it's really important that he can sit down in the mauler. I think we'd all agree with that. And then the 90-degree knee bend without a problem. All right, so there he is. And again, I really enjoyed this figure. I think he still looks good for the ARAH. I think he's going to fit perfectly when they eventually make a classified version of him. And let's be honest, they probably will do a tank at some point. My guess it would probably be a HasLab, and it'd have to have all kinds of different things. I would not assume that it would be motorized though, but it would have lights, and I don't need sound effects or anything like that, but lights would be awesome on this. But anyway, there he is. That is your heavy metal. I want to say heavy duty. It's not heavy duty, it's heavy metal. But anyway, there he is. Tell me a quick story if you had him. Oh, you know what else he has? He has an insignia right there. I actually was looking at that. It is almost worn off, so I don't remember exactly what it was. But, you know, again, this figure, I guess I forgot to look at the back, point out his pockets. You know, you do so many of these, you start to kind of lose focus sometimes, so I do apologize. But there you go. That is your heavy metal. All right, so there you go. That is heavy metal, the Mauler driver. And I know what some of you are thinking. Why would you do him and show the Mauler in the back, but not do, hey, patience is a virtue. So just wait, because that's the next video that's coming. But don't worry, I have more videos of the Real American Hero Classic reviews that I've done. But I want to first hear a story about this if you have one. Maybe you don't. Maybe this was something you wanted and you walked by it and you never had it. Maybe your parents said, you know what, you're not going to get another tank. You already have the Mobat. Then I want to hear it. But anyway, give me a story. But before we do, you stayed this long, please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classic review. Now don't go anywhere. I'm not going to point you to the Mauler video because it's not done yet, but I am going to point you to another classic review, and down here is going to be a playlist of all the classic reviews that I've done. Take care.